Hi everyone, this is a very brief review of the HP Envy touchscreen computer, the x360 model released in 2023. It's their mid to upper range machine, and it's very nice and light for a 15-inch laptop. It's made of all metal. It feels really good in your hands. It doesn't have any ports on the back, but it does have a few ports on the side, including good old HDMI and a headphone jack. On this side, you can see that it supports both the DC plug power, and on this side, you can see that it supports power delivery over USB. This particular model actually came with both power supplies in the box, which I thought was a really nice move on HP's part. This model has the i7 processor, the 1260 variant, and it's a very fast processor, but it also runs super hot. One thing I really like about this model is the power button is on the inside, which means that it's hard to press by mistake, and also it means that you just push down, which is easier than pushing from the side. On a lot of laptops, you push from the side, and sometimes your laptop goes sliding off your lap when you do it. So I really appreciate the power button being there. The touchpad is nice and slick. It feels good to touch. Some touchpads are kind of grippy. This one does not feel grippy at all. I think this is about as good as they come. The keys, let's get a little closer look here. The keys are in a reasonable layout by and large. They feel good. They have nice travel. I'm pretty happy with the keys on the whole, except for one glaring mistake HP has been making for maybe a decade, which is this stupid layout here where you have all of your arrow buttons together like this, with up and down being half height. That said, it does fit your hands reasonably well. No numpad, which I think is a feature, not a bug, but you do have legitimate end home page up and down keys over here on the side. So I find typing this to be very satisfying. If anything, it's maybe a little bit more tactile than your typical computer keyboard. So that's kind of a weird choice, but or not a weird choice. It's a little unusual for a computer keyboard and a laptop to be so tactile, but it's very pleasant. I don't have a problem with it. Let's talk about the screen. This model comes with a 1080p display. Comes in two different options. Both are IPS, but one is a 250 nits display and one is a 400 nits display. Honestly, I don't think that the brightness difference is important, but the 400 nits display has better color. Not that you can tell in this particular photo, but the 400 nits display is, I believe, 100% of NTSC color space, which means that the colors pop a lot more. Particularly the reds are really vibrant, maybe a little too vibrant, but overall, I think the color is pretty satisfying on this display, and it's certainly not the dull, washed out color that you often see on budget laptops. So I appreciate the vibrancy that you get with this display for sure. This is a system summary here showing the processor, the 1260p. The fact that it has 12 cores and 16 logical processors, which just means hyper-threading. It's a pretty hot chip is the problem with this setup. It's very fast, but I believe the CPU TDP is 28 watts and higher, and you can really feel that on the bottom of your lap. In fact, I'm going to return this machine because I just can't handle how warm it is. In particular, when you put it on the bottom and you put it on your legs without, let's say, wearing pants or just shorts, this part of the laptop gets really hot. This part over here is nice and cool, but this part gets really hot. And it's not quite burn you hot, but it's just too warm. And if you try to sort of sit like with a real man spreader posture and just like have the laptop balanced on just this part of your legs, it's still too hot over here. It's really just a fatal flaw. I will say that the fan noise is very low. That may be part of why it runs so warm, is that it runs the fans pretty low speed. Doesn't make much noise, doesn't push a lot of air, seems to not cause any throttling. The computer still runs nice and fast, but boy, it gets warm. let's take a quick look at the Best Buy page for where I bought it. Oops, come on. So this is the product page from Best Buy. This price is inflated. I think I paid $700 and change for it a week ago. And the specs here are not super exciting. You know, Best Buy, they're not really the most accurate when it comes to specs online anyway. You can see it doesn't have the UHD line of video. It's a Iris XZ. I haven't really played around with it a whole lot, but online it looks like it might be almost the equivalent of a GTX 1050. Probably a little bit below that, I don't know. In any case, as a desktop replacement, it's pretty nice, but given that it is a touchscreen, it just doesn't feel great in your lap. And why would you get a touchscreen unless you were going to put it in your lap? So if you're looking for a powerhouse and you don't mind using a cooling pad or some sort of insulation between you and the laptop, this could be pretty cool. But that pun may be intended, but for just playing around with a touchscreen computer in your lap, it's just not really a good choice. I do want to quickly demo, which you've probably already seen from other reviews, how nice these x360 machines are in terms of the ways you can configure them. So here's like a laptop. Flip it again, and you've got yourself a stand-up touchscreen like this, which is a pretty nice way to use a computer. I really do like this interface. And then of course you can fold all the way flat, so it looks like that, and then you can slap the thing in your lap. Now in that particular situation, the keyboard is resting against your legs, and that helps insulate it some, but it's still pretty warm. It's definitely better than if you have the CPU resting against your legs, where the CPU is, touching the backside of the laptop. This is somewhat insulated, but it's still running kind of warm. So in the end, I'm not really happy with it for that one fatal flaw. And I suspect that this is probably an issue for any 1260p machine. 1260p CPU, that's not a resolution, that's a CPU designation because of the fact that it has such a high TDP. All right, I hope that that hands-on review helps some other people. I had really high hopes for this machine, and it's just not delivered because of the temperature issues.